For vertical angles, we're talking about the angles formed by the intersections of two lines, where in particular we're talking about the pair that are vertically and horizontally opposite of each other. That is, these two and these two, where thanks to the idea of supplementary angles, these pairs, here, here, and here, here, have to be the same. Because if we think about what happens, say, along this line, this one breaks apart the 180 degree straight angle up to my ability to draw to scale and straight lines across those two locations. But it does the same breaking across these two locations and those two and those two. They're all broken into equal parts of that full 360 degrees of rotation, so these have to end up being the same and those have to end up being the same as vertical angles. And to understand this, let's actually, be a little bit concrete here. Let's say that this angle right there in the middle happens to be a familiar measurement of 68 degrees. Well, again, up to my ability to draw a scale, which is always limited, here we've broken this straight line into two parts, the 68 and over here the something else, where the something else has to have measure 180 minus 68, or, as most would prefer, 112 degrees, because, these are supplementary angles. They break the straight angle. On the other hand, if you look down here at these two, they also break a different straight angle, but in exactly the same way, because this measurement's still 68. So, these two will also leave 112 over there. So, our angles are equal. And then if we think of what happens with this one, either the 112 breaks off this into two parts, or the 112 down here breaks off that into two parts, and in either case, the remainder has to be 180 minus 112, or another 68 degrees. So, when we're dealing with the measurements of these angles, the measurements of how these things come together, pull apart in terms of these vertical locations, we always know that the opposites have the same measurement by virtue of them being supplementary angles. And we can take this another step further, another step up in complexity, by looking at what happens with more involved intersections with more than two lines, to get what are called parallel intersecting and transversal lines, and that's what we're going to look at next.